Hello everyone. Today we discuss about development of a base pay system part 2 in HRM. So once pay policies have been determined, the actual development of a base pay system begins because most organizations use task based systems focusing on work done in specific jobs. That is the emphasis of this discussion. If skill based or team based systems are used, then many of the activities discussed here must be modified. So the job description then are used in two activities: job evaluation and pay surveys. These activities are designed to ensure that the pay system is both internally, equitably, and externally competitive. The data compiled in these two activities are used to design pay structures, including pay grades and minimum to maximum pay ranges. After the pay structures have been deployed, individual jobs must be placed in the appropriate pay grades and employees pay adjusted based on length of service and performance. Finally, the pay system must be mentioned and updated. Now, job evaluation, the systematic determinations of the relative worth of jobs within an organization. Job evaluations provides a systematic basis for determining the relative worth of the jobs within an organization. It flows from the job analysis process and is based on job descriptions and job specifications also. In a job evaluation, every job in an organization is examined and ultimately priced according to the following features that I described right now. First, relative importance of the job. The second one is knowledge, skills, and abilities, that is KSAs, needs to perform the job, difficulty of the job. It is important that employees perceive their pay as appropriate in relations to pay for jobs performed by others. Because jobs may vary widely in an organization, it is particularly important to identify benchmark jobs, jobs that are found in many other organizations and are performed by several individuals who have similar duties that are relatively stable and that requires similar KSA. For example, benchmark jobs commonly used in clerical or office situations are accounts payable processor, word processing operator, and receptionist. Benchmark jobs are used with all of the job evaluation methods discussed here because they provide anchors against which unique jobs can be evaluated. Several methods are used to determine internal job worth through job evaluation. All methods have the same general objectives, but they differ in complexity and means of measurements. Regardless of the method used, the intent is to develop a usable, measurable, and realistic system to determine compensation in an organization. Now, ranking method. The ranking method is one of the simplest methods of job evaluation. It places jobs in order ranging from highest to lowest in value to the organization. The entire job is considered rather than the individual components. Several different methods of ranking are available, but all present problems. Ranking methods are extremely subjective, and managers may have difficulty explaining why one job is ranked higher than another to employee whose pay is affected by these ranking. When there are a large number of jobs, the ranking method also can be awkward and unwieldy. Therefore, the ranking method is more appropriate in a small organization having relatively few jobs. Now, classification method. In the classification method of job evaluation, description of each class of jobs are written, and then each job in the organization is put into a grade according to the class description it matches the best. The major difficulty with the classification method is that subjective judgments are needed to develop the class descriptions and to place jobs accurately in them. With a wide variety of jobs and generally written class descriptions, some jobs may appear to fall into two or three different grades. Another problem with the classifications method is that it relies heavily on job titles and duties and assumes that they are similar from one organization to another. For these reasons, many federal, state, and local government entities which traditionally used the classification method have shifted to point systems. Point method. The point method, the most widely used job evaluation method, is more sophisticated than the ranking and classification methods. It breaks down jobs into various compensable factors and places weights or points on them. A compensable factor is one used to identify a job value that is commonly present throughout a group of jobs. The factors are determined from the job analysis. For example, for jobs in warehouse and manufacturing settings, physical demands, hazards encountered, and working environment may be identified as factors and weighted heavily. However, in most offices and clerical jobs, those factors are of little importance. Consequently, the compensable factors used and the weights assigned must reflect the nature of the job under study and the changes in it. The individual using the point chart descriptions and identifies degree to which each element is necessary to perform the job satisfactorily. Now, the point method has grown in popularity for several reasons. It is relatively simple system to use. It considers the components of a job rather than the total job and is much more comprehensive than either the ranking or classification method. Once points have been determined and a job evaluation point manual has been developed. The method can be used easily by people who are not specialists. This system can be understood by managers and employees, which gives it a definite advantage. Another reason for the widespread use of the point method is that it evaluates the components of a job and determines total points before the current pay structures is considered. In this way, an employer can assess relative worth instead of relying on past patterns of worth. One major drawback to the point method is the time needed to develop a system. For the reason, employers often use manuals and systems developed by management, consultants, or other organizations. Point systems have also been criticized for reinforcing traditional organizational structures and job rigidity. Although not perfect, the point method of job evaluation generally is better than the classification and ranking methods because it quantifies job elements. Now, factor comparison. The factor comparison method is a quantitative and complex combination of the ranking and point methods. It involves first determining the benchmark jobs in an organization, selecting compensable factors, and ranking all benchmark jobs factor by factor next. The jobs are compared with market rates for benchmark jobs and monetary values are assigned to each factors. The final step is to evaluate all other jobs in the organization by comparing them with the benchmark jobs. A major advantage of the factor comparison method is that it is tailored specifically to one organization. Each organization must develop its own key jobs and its own factors also. For this reason, buying a packaged system may not be appropriate. Further factor comparison not only tells which jobs are worth more but also indicates how much more so that factor values can be more easily converted to monetary wages. The major disadvantages of the factor comparison method and are its difficulty and complexity. It is not an easy system to explain to employees and it is time consuming to establish and develop. Also, a factor comparison system may not be appropriate for an organization with many similar types of jobs. Managers attempting to use the method should consult a specialist or one of the more detailed compensation books or manuals that discussed the method. Now, integrated and computerized job evaluation. Increasingly, organizations are liking the components of wage and salary programs through computerized and statistical techniques using a bank of compensable factors. Employers can select those factors that are most relevant for the different job families in the organization. Then these integrated systems can perform the following task that I describe in details. First, create job descriptions that identify the compensable functions for each job. The second, link to pay survey data available on the internet. The third, use multiple regression and other statistical methods to analyze job evaluation and pay survey relationships. The fourth one, compare current employee pay levels in a database to the job evaluation and pay survey data. And the last one, develop costing models and budgetary implications of various implementations approaches. Because of the advanced expertise needed to develop and computerized the integrated systems, management consultants are the primary source for them. These systems really are less a separate method and more an application of information technology and advanced statistics to the process of developing a wage and salary program integrated systems, including the consulting expertise necessary to work through and implement them, are relatively expensive to purchase. Therefore, they generally are used only by medium to large sized employers. Now, legal issues and job evaluation. Employers usually view evaluating jobs to determine rates of pay as a separate issue from selecting individuals for those jobs, for taking disciplinary action against individuals. But because job evaluation affects the employment relationship, specifically the pay of individuals, it involves legal issues that must be addressed. Now, job evaluation and the Americans with Disabilities Act, that is DADA. The Americans with Disabilities Act requires employers to identify the essential functions of a job. However, all factors of jobs are examined during a job evaluation. For instance, assume a production job requires a punch press operator to drill holes in parts and place them in a bin of finished products. Every 3 hours, the operator must push that bin, which may weigh 200 pounds or more, to the packaging area. The movement of the bin probably is not an essential function, but if job evaluation considers the physical demands associated with pushing the bin, then the joints assigned may be different from the points that would be assigned if only the essential functions were considered. Now, gender issues and job evaluation. Critics have charged that traditional job evaluation programs place less weight on knowledge, skill, and working conditions for many female dominated jobs in office and electrical areas that on the same factors for male dominated jobs in craft and manufacturing areas. Also, jobs typically are compared only with others in the same job. Family, as discussed earlier, advocates of pay equity view the disparity between men's job and women's job as evidence of gender discrimination. These advocates also have attacked typical job evaluations as being gender biased. Employers countered that because they base their pay rates heavily on external equity comparisons, In the labor market, they are not the ones who are discriminating, they are just reflecting rates. The market economy sets for jobs and workers. A number of different methodologies can be used to evaluate the difference in pay based on gender. Undoubtedly, with further developments in court decisions, government actions, and research, job evaluation activities will face more pressures to address gender difference. Now, pay surveys. Another part of building a pay system is surveying the pay that other organizations provide for similar jobs. A pay survey is a collection of data on compensation rates for workers performing similar jobs in other organizations. As employers may use surveys conducted by other organizations, or it may decide to conduct its own survey. Using prepared pay structures or prepared pay surveys, many different surveys are available from a variety of sources. As the HR perspective indicates, the growth of the internet has resulted in a large amount of pay survey and data available online, whether available electronically or in printed form. National surveys on many jobs and industries come from the US Department of Labor, Bureau of Labor Statistics, and through national trade associations also. In many communities, employers participate in a wage survey sponsored by the local chamber of commerce to provide informations to new employers interested in locating the community. Now, developing a pay survey. If needed, pay information is not already available, the employer can undertake its own pay survey. Employers with comparable positions should be selected. Employers considered to be representative should also be surveyed, even if the employer conducted the survey is not unionized or unionized. The pay survey probably should examine union as well as non-union organizations. Developing pay competitive with union wage or wages may deter employees from joining a union. Jobs to be surveyed also must be determined because not all the jobs in all organizations can be surveyed. Those designing the pay survey should select jobs that can be easily compared, have common job elements, the represent a broad range of jobs. Key or benchmark jobs are especially important ones to include. It is also advisable to provide brief job descriptions for jobs surveyed in order to ensure more accurate matches. For executive level jobs, data on total compensation, base pay, and bonuses is often gathered as well. In the next phase of designing the pay survey, managers decide what information is needed for various jobs. Information such as starting pay, base pay, overtime rate, vacation and holiday pay policies, and bonuses all can be included in a survey. However, requesting too much information may discourage survey returns. The results of pay survey usually are made available to those participating in the survey in order to gain their corporations. Most surveys specifically confidentially the data is summarized to assure anonymity. Different job levels often are included and the pay rates are presented both in overall terms and on a city by city basis to reflect regional differences in pay. There have been some debate about how essential pay survey data will continue to be as jobs continue to change and more hybrid jobs that are combinations of traditional jobs emerge. Also, as more disparate jobs are placed into broader pay bands, the difficulty of comparing diverse jobs increases. So now we discuss about legal issues and pay surveys. One reason for employers to use outside consultant to conduct pay surveys is to avoid charges that the employers are attempting price fixing on wages. The federal government has filed suit in the past alleging that by sharing wage data, employers may be attempting to hold wage or wages down artificially in violation of the Sharman Antitrust Act. A key case involved the Society for Healthcare Human Resource Administration and 9 hospitals in the Salt Lake City area. The consent decree or that resulted prohibits all healthcare facilities developing or conducting a wage survey. So, as indicated, so we discuss about now different pay structures. In organizations, there are a number of different job families. The pay surveys data may reveal that there are different levels of pay due to market factors, which may lead to firms establishing several different pay structures rather than just one structure. Examples of some common pay structures are first hourly and salaried. Number two, office plant, technical, professional, and managerial. Number three, clerical, information technology, professional, supervisory, management, and executive. Basis for determining how many and which pay structures to have is the nature and culture of the organization. So that's the end of the video, my friends. If you like my blogs, please subscribe, share, like, and comment on my blog. Thanks again for your precious times. Thanks again.